This is Martin Giles of the Guildford Dragon News, and I'm now with Councillor Keith Witham, who is the Surrey County Councillor for the Worplesdon Division, and also the Guildford Borough Councillor for Pirbright. Good morning, Keith, and thank you for joining the Guildford Dragon.
Morning, Martin. Pleasure as always.
So, the subject today of the interview is the situation at the Stoney Castle dump, as it's being called. And you have recently visited the site with enforcement officers from Surrey County Council and GBC and the Environment Agency. Now, what can you tell us about it? You've said in a written report to some of your constituents that there have been noxious fumes emanating from the site. What can you elaborate on that?
Well, yes, the illegal waste dumpers were getting rid of a lot of the waste that they were bringing to that illegal site by burning it. And not only did it compact, but obviously, depending on the way that the wind was blowing, literally, the fumes were blown across Pirbright to people's gardens and indeed into their homes. And this has been an intolerable situation, which I have been pressing on through Surrey County Council and more recently through Guildford Borough Council. And I've been in contact with the Environment Agency. One of the big problems of this sort of illegal site is that different authorities have different powers under different bits of legislation. One guy I spoke to yesterday said to me, well, why do we pay to have a police force? And I had to explain to him that unless a criminal offence is being committed, the police aren't involved. This has been a civil offence that councils have to take through civil legal procedures. The police really don't have any power other than if, for example, there's a disturbance or there is a breach of the peace. So one of the frustrating things for me, as well as residents, has been having to get different authorities to do their bit of the job, so to speak, in sequence. As you know, the guy who was responsible and in control of the land, the legal definition, because his father owns the land, but the father is abroad, lives abroad in the Philippines, and the son has power of attorney for him, so was responsible for the land. Surrey County Council successfully took him to court because he failed to take notice of enforcement notices telling him to stop the importation, stop people allowing access to his land. He didn't, so he was taken to court, he was convicted, but that was a conviction for not stopping the illegal dumpers using his land. Okay, he was fined, and there was a proceeds of crime order awarded against him, but it didn't stop the dumping. So after that, Guildford Borough Council then stepped in.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Keith, but I ought to just say that he is contesting that. We're talking about Daniel Hill. He is contesting that and is hoping to appeal, I understand. But nonetheless, you have set out the situation as it is factually.
Yeah, he appealed, I believe, lost. His dispute is with the courts, right. I feel. The councils are doing their jobs in terms of enforcement notices. When enforcement notices are not complied with, they then have power to take people to court, but that is a civil legal action. So as far as I'm concerned, it's really good news what Guildford Borough Council were able to do in the last few weeks. Because they served notices under basically environment and planning law, and because there were people living on the site in very, very dilapidated old caravans. You know, we're talking about no running water, really awful conditions. And so GBC under its powers, basically declared those buildings as unfit for human habitation, so that they could then have those people removed from the site and all of the paraphernalia. And we're talking about the reason it's taken several weeks to clear all of this stuff, the non-waste paraphernalia. You're talking caravans, a barn, over 60 dilapidated vehicles. So a huge amount of waste, 225 tons of waste has been of non-waste items have been removed from the site in the last few weeks.
And that's
now,
by
that's still
GBC.
by Guildford Borough Council. And I really have to say that I think that Guildford Borough Council and its contractors have done a fantastic job. It takes time for these things to go through due process because they have to get court orders and and such like. But it's really difficult to, even the photographs taken, Martin, do not do justice to what 2,500 tons of illegally dumped waste actually means. What GBC have removed are the non-waste items, about 225 tons. So, well, that's about 10% of what was there. And what will now have to happen is that Surrey County Council will come back into the equation, and I'm pressing them to now clear the rest of the site of all the waste.
If I may interject there. So, firstly, the way you described the site, although they were in very limited conditions, the occupants weren't happy with being ejected from the site, were they?
No, but tough.
Right. Okay. Secondly, I know that the investigation is ongoing, but are you able to say yet what kind of substances have been found on the site and how toxic they may be?
I can't comment on that, Martin, because it's for both, and I think really you need to ask the question of GBC, because it was their operation that has removed a lot of stuff. But there was certainly a lot of oil, for example, that type of material. Everything that has been removed in the last few weeks, the council have made the assumption that it was contaminated, because for good safety reasons, I think they were right to make that assumption. But I don't have any information as to what results have come back in terms of stuff being tested.
One of the concerns expressed was that local water courses could have been contaminated. Has that been investigated and proven or not?
Again, I don't have any information on that, because that is something that the Environment Agency are responsible for. I very much hope that that will proceed, in terms of those investigations as well. But I don't have any direct information, on those two things.
Because local residents, I expect their biggest concern will be their safety and whether what's been going on in this site is affecting their health.
Well, that's a very valid concern. But what I can say and have said to local residents is that the proper authorities are not only very well aware of this, but they are investigating and will take the necessary action.
Yes, yes. And of course, you mentioned burning of waste, and normally there's a lot of rules and regulations around that, so it's done safely, I believe.
Well, indeed. And one of the problems of dealing with criminals is that they have no regard for the law. Fairly self-explanatory statement, but this is the big problem on this site. One of the things that I have also been
sorry, Keith, but do we know that they're criminals? I mean, or is it suspected they are at the moment?
Well, okay. If you are the person taking illegal waste onto an illegal site, in my opinion, you are a criminal, and you need to be prosecuted and dealt with as a criminal. And that is what I am pressing the Environment Agency who have greater powers than any local council to do. I would also like, and I've talked to our Member of Parliament, Jonathan Lord, who's the MP for Woking, who also covers Pirbright, about this, because I think that there is a gap in the law here, that people undertaking this sort of activity should be subject to a criminal act that the police can take action on.
Okay,
That's not the
but
case at the moment.
you're not making allegations against any specific individuals at this stage.
Absolutely not.
No. Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. That's all. Okay.
But I want the Environment Agency, particularly, to pursue those individuals.
Yes. Now, what is the longer term? What is your longer term hope for that site? I mean, it's on the edge of Pirbright Common, the Army danger area, which is a relatively virgin site because of the Army occupation of it over many years, most of our lifetime, all our lifetimes, I guess. So what are you hoping will happen now to that site?
Well, the site is, and it remains, private property. It belongs to the landowner. It belongs to the landowner who has allowed this situation to happen. Personally, I would like the land to be confiscated from the landowner so that he receives absolutely no financial benefit from this at all, and some other use. It is designated as agricultural land, and it could be brought back into good use, either as agricultural land or for some other purpose. But it does remain, Martin, private property. And so, the authorities would have to deal with the landowner.
Okay. Right. Is there anything else you want to add about the situation there, or do you think we've covered it all?
Well, only to express my appreciation to the enforcement officers at Guildford Borough Council and also the people at Surrey County Council who have been dealing with this as it has been ongoing. They have had dedication and have had to have persistence in dealing with this situation. It's been very frustrating for those of us who know the area and residents who have been affected particularly, but at least now that the site is physically secured so that vehicles cannot enter the site through very substantial barriers, so that more waste cannot physically be taken onto the site, so that this problem will stop once it has been cleared by Surrey, once it's been as we were talking about, the contamination has been checked into and dealt with as necessary, we can then look at what use the land could be made.
Okay.
But I've been absolutely clear that the landowner should not be allowed to benefit in any way financially. I don't have a figure, but we are talking about hundreds of thousands of pounds of taxpayers' money to have to deal with this problem. So that money needs to come back from the landowner to the council, basically, in my view.
And why has this taken so long?
Well, because criminals have no regard for the law. The authorities are civil authorities. They have to go through the legal procedures of issuing enforcement notices, giving the landowner or his representatives the chance to do what they should do and what they are ordered to do through those enforcement notices. And then if they don't, take them to court. And as you well know, legal proceedings get strung out. In the meantime, this sort of situation goes on. But I think the positive that comes out of it is that thanks to the position that we're now in through the GBC action, at least the residents will not be affected now as they have been in the future.
Okay, but
as they were affected.
Yeah, but couldn't the same action have been taken earlier by GBC?
No, because as I explained at the beginning, different authorities have different legal powers under different bits of legislation to deal with different things. And they have to go through those things in a certain sequence to be
Okay.
able to do what they need to do.
Okay. Okay. Well,
That's why it takes time.
yeah. Well, Councillor Witham, thank you Councillor Witham, thank you very much for your time today, and we all hope that the obviously that the impact on Pirbright can be minimised and resolved as soon as possible. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much again, and I echo those comments. Thank you, Martin.